Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of Crunch Time. This will be the season finale. My name is Christian Hunt. I've got Trey Whiteout, and making his return to Crunch Time is Mr. Zach Peay. Zach, welcome back to the show, buddy. It's an honor to have you back.
Man, it's great to be back. You guys have changed this so much, and I love it. I cannot wait to get started with you guys on this. It's a blessing just to be sitting in this chair again.
No doubt. So we'll start with Trey. Trey, how's everything going? School's about to wrap up here in a little bit. What's all going with you so far?
Yeah, everything's been going well so far. We got that one paper that we still have to finish for 5,000, and then after that, a presentation.
Well, I mean, but you're teaching right now, so it's like you're still involved with papers. You're just not physically writing them.
Yeah, I got all my grades done yesterday, so I just got like 2 more assignments to grade plus the final, and
so
I'm
you're
safe.
You're pretty much chilling until after Christmas.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's awesome, man. Well, Zach, you sure picked a good one to join us on for Crunch Time and for role players later on. But we'll start with what we got going with Austin Peay first. The big story. We're not breaking any news, but the big story, obviously, being Mr. Scotty Walden has departed. He will take the University of Texas El Paso job, aka UTEP.
Yep.
Coach Walden was here for 4 seasons, 3 years, but 4 seasons because you remember he played the spring season when he first got here, and then he jumped right into a fall season. Yeah. So only year 3 for him, but season 4 was 26-14 as a head coach. Never had a losing season for the Governors during his time here. He's either 500 or better because during the spring season, you got to remember, even though the team overall was like 4-7 or 4-5,
right.
He came during the spring season, was 4-2 as the head coach, so the 3 losses in the fall didn't count against his record. But yeah, so he'll be the next coach of the University of Texas El Paso. I believe they're the Miners. Is their name?
I think so.
Yeah, they're the UTEP Miners. I think they finished this season like 3-9 or something.
Yeah, so he's going to hopefully rejuvenate that program. But yeah, guys, I mean, what are our thoughts on that so far? We'll get to the portal here in a minute, but initial thoughts on Scotty leaving.
I mean, it's a jump from FCS to FBS, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, he's
Texas
taking
FBS.
Yeah, so that's huge, right? So the question is can he handle the competition? I think he can. I mean, he rejuvenized this program and got him into a winning program, right? I mean, he obviously there was somebody here beforehand that had done the same thing, that had kind of gotten Austin Peay on that winning track, but Austin Peay's team was not the same after that person left and Scotty came in. They were 2 drastically different teams, and Coach Walden did an amazing job with the program. So I think, honestly, you're going to see a different Governors team next year, and that's going to be either a plus or a minus, and I have no idea which way it's going to go right now, to be honest.
Yeah, what do you think, Trey? What are your thoughts?
I think, and especially with it being Scotty, he's more than likely going to figure out, especially with it being Scotty, he's more than likely going to just go, but and make that program so much better.
Mm-hmm.
Like the main thing that one thing that he did almost immediately was that we kind of mentioned it before. He never had a losing season with the Governors.
Yep.
And that takes a lot more than just like, you got a different, like you've got a good group every year. He made the team feel like they could run through a brick wall for him. Mm-hmm. Like every single game out, even if they weren't the better team, even if they knew they were basically having an uphill climb, it was like, yep, we're going to drive for this, man. We're going to keep going forward, and just
right. No, I mean, it's funny you say that because, you think about how this season started, right? Getting waxed on the road against SIU, but then you come back against a Power 5 ranked SEC Tennessee team.
Yeah.
And say what you want about Tennessee maybe not being as good as they were last year, but still, I mean, it's a pretty good SEC team.
Right.
They took them through the ringer.
And they took them to the ringer. It was tied multiple times.
They had altercations on the field because they were frustrating UT so much that UT was just fighting back with Austin Peay. I mean, it was a very interesting game to watch, to be honest.
No, you had multiple ties. Austin Peay led at one point multiple times throughout that game. And made it close enough to where people were like, okay, like we got to stop messing around, for Tennessee fans. And then you think back to the year before, they played Nick Saban in Tuscaloosa,
and the first half of that game was a great game.
Oh yeah,
I mean they were hanging on.
They were
with Alabama,
fighting tooth and nail with Alabama. So I think that Scotty had that mindset that you're never out of the game. You're they're not going to be bullied. You may be better than them.
I think.
But they're not going to make you're not going to bully them the entire
UTEP gets
time.
a smart coach and a guy that's a motivator and a guy that can recruit.
Yeah, he
I
can
mean, he can
recruit.
recruit. And he makes his promises because he understands what the school standpoints are compared to what he's recruiting for. He doesn't over recruit like we've seen for other coaches in college football, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where they'll make the promise and be like, yeah, you're going to be the guy, and they come in and you're not the guy until like year 3 or 4, right?
Yeah.
Whereas this guy's going to say you're going to be the guy. You're probably going to be the guy when you come right in, and especially
doubt.
for a program that was what you said 3-6, I think. What was it?
3-9.
3-9. Wow. Yeah. No, that is.
Yeah, I think they went on
Yeah,
like
UTEP's getting a coach. They're getting a coach.
And he's going home because he's from Texas.
Oh, yeah.
So to me, this is a dream job. I know a lot of people are frustrated for Clarksville fans, and I get it. You get something nice, and then it automatically leaves, right? I get it. I understand why people can be frustrated by this situation, but he's going home.
Yeah.
He has family in Texas. He's from Texas, right? So to him, this is a dream come true. I mean, the guy was recruiting Texas in Tennessee when he knew, like, okay, most of the time I'm not going to get the Texas kid, but he was trying his guts out too.
And where he was getting recruits from, we're not exactly known for getting Tennessee players. We were getting some Tennessee players coming into Clarksville, which is a rarity when you've got Vanderbilt around the corner, Nashville, you've got Knoxville, you've got Middle Tennessee State University, you've got all these different schools that are bigger powered schools. Scotty was getting these kids to come in and play for him that were going to those schools originally. So it's impressive. This guy's going to get able to get talent into UTEP that you might not have expected to be playing at UTEP.
No doubt. So, Trey, we were talking about this week and whatnot, texting back and forth when we were doing this rundown. But speaking of talent, whoever the new head coach is, we don't know yet. Obviously, Gerald is going to be looking into that. But they have lost
a
fair amount of talent for the Govs.
A lot.
We got a graphic that will be popping up here in a second. But just to list them off, Maddox Trujillo, Riley Stevens, Cam Thomas, Trey Shack, Isaiah Wright, Travis Bates, Braden Smith, Ethan Myers, Elon McKenzie, Corey Chapman, Miles Richardson, Eddie Buxton, and as of today, Marquez Taylor.
No way.
Have all entered the portal. I saw Marquez right before we started the show, so I wrote him down. And then on the graphic as well, we talk about key players that are graduating, right? So Mike DeLillo, Javon Young, Jordan Goko, Tyler Long, Michael Rutland Jr., and the list goes on and on. I believe Jalen Armstrong, our center, is also graduating, so that's another big one. So, guys, not surprised, but a little bit surprised of the amount of players and the amount of – I mean, I had on our list here, out of the 13 players that are transferring, 10 of them are, like, contributors.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Trey, let's start with you. What are your thoughts? I mean, who do you think is the biggest impact out of these players that are transferring? I know my answer, but I want to see what yours is.
I'm probably going to say Cam Thomas and Trey Shackelford.
You have one of mine. You have one of mine.
Yep.
And you know who it is. It's Cam Thomas.
Yeah. I believe, if I remember correctly, as the season kept going, Cam Thomas became like that guy for Oscar Peay. Like every single game, it was like, 80 to 70 yards at one point, then would jump up out of nowhere in one of the later games at like 120 plus.
Had 200 yards in one game.
Yeah.
Wow.
Losing those two is going to put a huge dent in your wide receiver.
Big dent.
And you're already losing Mike DeLillo. You're losing Jordan Goko. You're losing a lot of offensive talent already. So the offense is probably going to be
drastically different.
Drastically different.
I mean, there's no way that offense looks the same.
Yeah.
What about you, Zach? Who do you think?
I remember calling games last season for 91.9 FM, WAPX FM, Clarksville's 91.9,
Shout
Magic
out.
91.9. Got to shout it out, right? If not, Doc's going to get me, right?
Shout
I
out,
don't want Doc
Doc
to jump out of the rafters and kill me. But honestly, my biggest one, besides Mike DeLillo obviously being the quarterback, the question mark will become who is going to be quarterback for the Governors next year. Mm-hmm. The other one I see is Isaiah Wright.
Yeah, that's a big
loss
because you're losing not only, like you said, Mike DeLillo, but you're
Right.
losing your right tackle, your center, and your left tackle. So basically, the pillars of your offensive line are gone.
And Trujillo too, the kicker. There
Yep.
was moments where he'd make some clutch kicks, and there's some moments he missed some clutch kicks too. But there wasn't often that he missed clutch kicks.
It was not often.
I was about to say, at least this season, there wasn't as much missed kicks.
I watched one, maybe two kicks. I think that last season. That's it. Out of that, other than that, he was automatic.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a reason why his nickname was Automatics Trujillo.
Yeah.
But you look at the situation with the specialists, right? We talk about special teams, right? Cam Thomas being a dynamic kick returner and punt returner. He had multiple kick and punt returns in his career for a touchdown, or even just not even for touchdowns, just big plays in the special teams unit. But then you take a look, Your starting punter's gone. Your
Right.
starting kicker's gone. Your starting long snapper, Ethan Myers, is gone. I mean, that's
you've got a lot of work. Whoever's coming in to become the next coach for this team has a lot of work that they're going to have to do, and a lot of recruiting really that they're going to have to pick up for as well. Don't be surprised if you're hearing open call recruitment happening here at Austin Peay for those players, because there's a lot of players leaving.
I've seen a lot of commitments on Twitter. They've said that either that they have decommitted from Austin Peay or that they are at least opening up their recruitment again because. I mean, let's be honest, right? The guy you're coming for is Scotty Walden. That's the guy who convinced you to come to Austin Peay or at least be in the conversation.
He convinced you to walk through that brick wall.
Now that the guy's gone, a lot of people are going, let me try something. Let me go somewhere else. And, I mean, guys, this is just today as of, December 7th?
Yeah.
That's just today. That's what the damage is today.
Imagine a month from now.
We're going to see in February, and March and May, when that recruiting period opens up again for the portal. And we're going to see it again. I mean, don't get me wrong. After spring ball or even before spring ball, you're going to see a lot more into the portal.
Yeah,
and it's no detriment to the next head coach. Like I'm not trying to trash the program, but that's just the way college football operates. I mean, we see a lot of big programs like Texas A&M right now is kind of getting gutted through the portal.
Well, and they're going to pay Jimbo a lot of money.
Yeah,
but you think about the program they're coming to compared to Austin Peay. When you talk about Texas A&M compared to Austin Peay has a winning program now. But do we remember how it was?
We're the doormat of college
8
football
years ago. Yeah, we didn't win a game.
Yeah. No.
So, I mean, it's amazing to see how it's turned around so quickly.
No doubt.
Now it's a question mark of can we maintain it and be champions again too. On top of that, we had 2 back-to-back championship years. Can we get that again with a new coach and almost a completely new team and a new concept?
Yeah, I think about the recent success. I mean, Trey, we talked about this before, but you won a conference championship in 19, and now you've won it back-to-back years. So that's 3 championships within a 5-year span. And this kind of goes into our next kind of topic is, do you think that, first of all, do you think they're going to hire from within or go outside to find a coach? And then my second thought is, will we ever be anything other than a stepping stool? Do you think there's ever a time in which Austin Peay will be, hey, this is a job you want to keep in FCS? Or do you think it's always going to be, yeah, I'm here until someone else comes calling?
I think that we're probably going to start with someone from within. If it doesn't, I think if it goes maybe a month or 2 and they've not found anybody, then like with the initial recruitment and such, then they might have to outsource it to try and find at least someone who will be able to just stay in here long term. And this is kind of branching out into your second point, where will they ever not be a stepping stone? I'm not sure, because it's like I think I expected this immediately after the season. I think if we made it farther into the playoffs than we did, Scotty might have stayed longer. And it's not really a negative towards him. It's more of a team will automatically see how well Scotty did with Austin Peay. He'll see how he was able to kind of change Austin Peay's change the whole team around and just want him much, much more. Will offer him exactly like what we mentioned before about him going back home to Texas. I think like you said I think you said at that point too, he ended up having it's his home.
Yeah.
And I think that was the main point, for him to leave it in the first place. And yeah, it would have to depend. It would have to depend on who you got. If it's someone that's close to Tennessee, maybe they stay for longer, but yeah.
I think, man, if you've got a team that's been making the playoffs like they have and winning championships, you can't only look within. You've got to look and see about bringing somebody in that's a big name guy, right? Unless they just trust somebody under Walden who they think is that guy, I think you've got to look outside, right? And to answer your question that you said about being a stepping stone, I hate to reference another university within Tennessee, but Middle Tennessee State University had a Stockstill, forever, right? I mean, forever. That guy was there for 18 years, I think, or 20.
Was the fourth
like
tenured head coach in FBS at the current time when he was still the coach.
Right. I think Austin Peay can find a guy like that to stay here for a long term, but as you said, it's got to be consistency play. It's got to be consistently making the playoffs and winning games in the playoffs and proving that your team can make it each time, right? That's the way you do it. If Walden, I think, wins that playoff game and they move on to another round, I think he does stay. I don't think he considers UTEP's offer. I think he's like, you know what, I can stay here one more year, maybe get a better championship gig or something like that down the road, right? But I think that personally, you've got a guy that got an offer from somewhere from home, and they didn't really make it as far in the playoffs as he hoped they would. And he took the offer, and I don't blame him at all. He makes that leap, and I hope he does good. To be honest,
I do. I hope he does well. Also, just want to make that clear.
Yeah.
I am going to disagree with you on the fact that if he had won, he would have stayed, because I think to him, like I mentioned, he's from Texas.
Right.
So I think any Texas,
any
especially
hometown call, he would have taken it.
Especially an FBS team, like if
it was
Houston,
a leap.
Yeah, if it was Houston Baptist, or if it was one of these other FCS Texas schools, he might have gone, I'll stay here, just because my family's here. He's got a son with his wife, and they've got a baby on the way.
Right.
So he's kind of got a little bit of a home here, but I disagree in the sense that I think he would have stayed. I think no matter what, he was probably going to be elsewhere. I thought it was going to be next year, personally. I thought he was going to get one more good year with the team, because you got to remember, this was the first time they had made the playoffs under Scotty Walden. Right? They had winning seasons, which is tremendous, but it was the first time they had actually gone to the playoffs.
Right.
Because last year they had a share of the championship, but not enough to get into the playoffs. They didn't get the automatic bid like they did this year. In terms of this place being a stepping stool, there are examples of smaller, especially here in Tennessee. I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but the basketball coach at Belmont, he's been here forever. Now, I understand it's basketball.
I can't remember it.
But you know what I'm talking about.
I know who
you're
talking about, though. Yeah, he's been there forever.
And I'm sure he's gotten multiple other Power 5 offers throughout the years. And he's
absolutely.
And he's pretty much said, no, I'm staying at Belmont.
Probably from schools that are up the road from him in Nashville.
No doubt. I would love it if he was. Again, I don't even know the guy's name, but I know his reputation as a head coach.
I think it was Rick Bird here. He was there from 1986 to 2019. Then went to Casey Alexander from 2019 to now.
Right. So, he was here for, you said 87 to 19?
86 to 19, 33
seasons. That's a while.
So that's over 25 years.
Yeah.
33, yep.
Cool, boy. So, there's examples like that. You mentioned Rick Stockstill, who was the fourth tenured head coach at the time before he was let go. I think it's going to be tough, though, because the thing is I always reference the South Dakota states, the North Dakota states, right? Yeah. They kind of their coaches seem to last there a little bit longer at the FCS level, but you got to remember, that's all they got out there in the Midwest, right? They don't have NFL team. They got the Vikings up the road, but they don't. That's all they got. So it's almost like a bigger high school situation there. Obviously they're great talent. I'm not discounting what they do at all, but it's a difference because, like you said, here you're literally surrounded by FBS teams that are always looking for different position coaches, offensive coordinator spots, or even head coaches. And then Scotty gets a call from back home in Texas saying, hey, you want to coach back home? And he's probably thinking, heck yeah, I want to coach back home. It's again,
absolutely.
It's no discredit. And I think what people at Clarksville, before we move on, it's not an insult to Clarksville.
No, not at all. We should not take this as an insult. No, we should take it as a compliment, really.
Yeah, it's not an insult to Clarksville that he's saying, hey, I'm gonna coach somewhere else. It's not an insult. Okay?
Yeah.
But the reality of the world we live in is you're always going to go after the better job. There's only about 10 to 15 schools, I think, in college football in which a head coach is going to say, you know what, I'm going to stay here until they pry my dead body out of the building.
Right.
There's only like 10 to 15in of those.
And I can think of one of them being in the SEC.
I can think of at least 2 or 3 of them from the SEC. I would say, personally, I would say Bama, Tennessee.
Bama for sure.
Bama, Tennessee, and A&M. Those are the 3 that you're going to have to drag my carcass out before you fire me.
Yeah, I can see that.
And even the others. You look at Coach Stoops at Kentucky. People were saying he was the A&M guy, and then he was like, nah, I'm staying in Kentucky.
Leaving Kentucky. I don't think he's going anywhere.
No, so that's another one right there that you're going, okay, I'm probably going to stay. But again, that's an SEC level job.
Right. That's not That's not what we're talking about.
We're not. It's not the UAC, right?
Right.
Austin Peay. I mean, again, it's no disrespect to Austin Peay. It's no. I don't think the fans should take it as disrespect, but it's just the reality we live in.
I think
Absolutely.
I think another school I can think of is like Georgia, where
Nah,
it's
that's
like you
another
have
one.
to-
Forgot about
where you
that.
have
So
to
that's
basically
four.
Yeah, I don't
drag
think
them
I
out
don't
there.
think you're firing Smart without him kicking and screaming out that building.
Right.
I don't
Honest
think
truth.
even if that guy was dead, I think the fans would try to have like his corpse somehow call the plays.
What is the movie?
A witch
I can't
doctor
remember the
just
movie where
comes out.
they're doing the whole. Oh man, what is it? They pantomime the dead guy for a while.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's I'll think of it later. I really will.
Sorry, Slick. I have no idea what you're
man.
talking about. But before we move on, be sure to follow us on social media, Twitter, a.k.a. X, Instagram as well. We still have Podbean on there. That's kind of a lazy thing on my part. I haven't taken that down. We are not on Podbean anymore, unfortunately.
Aw.
Yeah, I'm sorry to the 3 people that were listening on Podbean. I apologize.
I mean, you had more than 3, but yeah.
it was like
Yeah,
5.
you can't forget Zach there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me and then like 4 other people in Arkansas. That's about it, right?
Zach was probably like looking forward to going, where's my episodes, guys?
Yeah, I did at one point. I was like, man, where are they? Oh, they're only on YouTube now.
Yeah, only on the tube.
Yeah.
But we're going to move on to men's basketball, as they currently sit at 4-6. Let me make sure that is accurate.
Yep, they're 4-6.
Movie I was
They
thinking of was
just beat-
Weekend at Bernie's, by the way.
Ah, all right.
Ah, okay.
There you go. Natty,
Yeah,
you remember the
they're-
movie?
No, I've never seen it.
Oh man,
I've heard of it, but I've never seen it.
it's a good movie.
All right.
Yeah,
so,
they're 4-6.
yeah,
right
4-6. They just beat Midway last night.
now. Absolutely crushed them.
Well, I mean, it's Midway, guys.
Yeah.
Let's not get too excited. I mean, granted, yes, they crushed them 98-44. I mean, we'll take a look at that box score here in a minute. But, as of recently, they also lost to Tennessee State in a close one, 69-65. In that game, Jamonte Black and Daniel Sharp had 19 points apiece. But outside of that, it was pretty bare. I mean, you have 2 guys score 48 of your 65 points, and then the rest of the team scores 17 points. That's
I mean, that's mostly from how bad their second half was. Like, they started off the game real hot, scored 42 points in the first half, and they ended by getting 23 points in the second. Like,
Wow.
That's not gonna
It's
win
like
you
they
a
didn't
game.
show up the second half at all.
Yeah, they didn't show up the second half at all, while Tennessee
Wow.
State actually was more consistent as time went on, because they 32 first half, 37 second half.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. TSU still OVC?
yes.
Yes.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
The OVC with like the Big South Alliance, because it's like
Right.
Gardner Webb and all those
Okay.
schools are
Yeah,
technically
yeah.
merged with the.
with them.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just curious. I mean, because I see down the line a little bit of what you're talking about with your rundown here and about ASUN play and everything like that. You're not going to win ASUN games. You're only scoring 23 points in the second half.
No,
You're not beating
You're not-
ASUN opponents that
You're
way.
not going to win ASUN games if you can't win on the road.
No,
Like,
you
they're-
can't. No, you're not. No, it's not happening.
Away from their stadium, they're 1-5.
I mean,
Yikes.
Like, that's
Can you imagine going into Belmont scoring 23 points in the second half?
no.
Belmont scored that on 3-pointers alone.
Yeah, with one guy.
Yeah, with one guy. And
I
that's-
watched it happen
and that's the thing about
in
this,
the OVC championship.
and that's the thing about this team is like it's right now it's a 2-man show. It's Jamonte Black and Daniel Sharp, and then everybody else just
So
gets you like 3 or 4 points.
You're getting nice contributions.
I guess let me
here and
pose you a
there,
question.
but-
Since you've been posing us these questions, right?
Mhm.
Who's the third player to step up? Where are they getting it from? Is it a second line guy that's coming in, or is somebody off the 6 man off the bench, or is it under the goal? Like what?
I mean,
what's
I'm-
happening here?
I'm looking here at their box score from again, and granted, it's Midway, so let's calm down.
I mean, but hey, you need those games. You know as well as I do. You need some of these pepper games in order to be able to step up and understand how the pace of
No.
play is going to go in later on in the season, right?
no doubt. But Des White in this Midway game scored 20 points,
he scored, it looks like
22 points.
Yeah, 22 points.
Don't mind me.
on-
I'm just trying to figure
Yeah.
out. I'm looking at his laptop.
Yeah, no.
I didn't get fancy with computers this year.
Yeah, but I mean,
He
so
went 5 for 9 from 3.
Yeah.
So-
Really?
Yeah.
so I mean,
that's good.
If you
A
get a guy like
guy.
that coming off the bench, I mean, I see Hansel Emanuel also scored 8 points as well, which
Yeah.
he's not exactly going to be a guy that's going to go out there and score 20
Right.
points, but he's going to be the guy that gets you like the 50-50 balls, the
Right.
kind of the Draymond Green play where it may not show up on the stats, but he's going to at least give you those, like, he's going to dive after a ball.
I'll take the Draymond Green play as long as we're not throwing fisticuffs anymore at the end of the games.
Well, yeah.
That's,
Hopefully-
that works
Or-
for me, man.
Or
As long as there's
stomping,
no,
or stomping on players.
yeah,
That-
no headlocks, no stomps, no fisticuffs, none of that. I'll take all the Draymond Green plays if you're giving me that.
Hopefully Hansel doesn't do that, which as far as I know, he hasn't to this point.
the difference
but-
from this year and last year's teams.
But, a guy like Daniel Luce, I mean, I'm looking here, and we got another guy, Desi Jones, scored 16 points. Again, granted,
Midway.
Midway,
guys.
So we have to calm down before we crown them yet.
They didn't beat
they didn't beat a top
number
caliber
one top
team,
caliber
but
contender or number one in the ASUN. They're beating a team that they should have beat.
No doubt. I mean,
They should have won this game.
Midway didn't have a player score double digits, so
That makes sense.
Let's make that clear. But yeah, I mean, a Daniel Luce, guy who's coming off the bench, or someone like him, a Hansel Emmanuel, just get him 10 points off the bench. I mean, for crying out loud.
Now, first year, obviously, at F&M Bank.
Mm-hmm.
Is it adjusting to the stadium? Is that a problem?
I don't think it's a stadium. I think, if anything, it's adjusting to your coach, adjusting to.
Because, I mean, yeah, it is a new coaching system, but some of these players came from his system.
A lot of them did.
Like, 4 or 5 guys transferred from his original team that he was at over to us as soon as he signed.
No doubt. But, I mean, you know better than anybody. I mean, basketball is such a chemistry and flow sport where.
It is.
They may have played for him, but they may not have been on the same line together.
Right,
They may not have been part of the same
right.
lineup. So you still have to kind of adjust and know who your lineup mates are, know who you're playing with to order to truly maximize your potential. I mean, Trey, what are your thoughts? I mean, obviously 4 and 6 is not exactly where we want to be sitting at this point in the season, but what are your thoughts?
I think they've got to get like Des White and Desi Jones. I think have to be hit more and more shots because you're looking at this, and yes, like we said, it's Midway. So there's no real don't be overexcited.
But a confidence booster game is a confidence booster game.
A win's a win.
A win's a win.
When you're looking at this,
whether it's pretty or not.
His best games, he's gotten 2 for 10 from 3. That's not that great. Next game, though, 7 of 15. This past game, 5 of 9. That's just Des White. And I think you've got to have them have more And
comparing their stats to the TSU game, I imagine they've got similar shot attempts, but they're just not sinking them in.
Yeah, they've actually got similar shot attempts on that, yeah. In comparison for Des White, it seems he's 8 for 15 from field goal, from just field goals. 3 points, 5 of 9, but against Tennessee State, 1 for 7, 1 for 7.
Wow.
This team's going to live and die by the 3. I've kind of already gotten that gist.
I mean, you've got to shoot threes. I mean, obviously, in this game, that's part of it now, especially in men's basketball.
But you got to hit them, too.
But you've got, or get the rebound, right? I mean, I'm betting their differential in their rebounding game is awful in that TSU game compared to Midway. I'm betting Midway couldn't rebound at all. I'm betting TSU actually rebounded against them more than they did.
Yeah, and
because that's how you're getting it there is you got to win the boards.
I think that's going to be the thing moving forward, and we'll move on to women's here in a second. But yeah, I mean they have no big presence. There's a bunch of 4s and 3s and 2s and 1s out there playing with no 5s.
Right.
So we'll move on. Yeah,
rebounds.
Getting crushed.
Drastically crushed, right?
Well, not even drastically crushed. Against Midway, they won the rebound battle 45-29. But against TSU. Midway. But against Tennessee State, they won it 37-35.
Oh, wow. I wouldn't have expected that.
It's mostly just...
Especially when they lose 69-65. If you're winning the rebound game like that, you should have won that game.
Yeah, but it's close. I mean,
Right.
The main thing, though, in the TSU game was that they had 24 fouls to 15 and then turned the ball over 6 more times than they did. There you go.
That's the difference.
Yeah, turnovers are going to kill you.
In a 4-point game, that's
turnovers are going to kill you.
Major difference.
That's going to kill you. So we'll hit women's here really quick. They lost to Mercer 78-75. Hale, Nelson, and Carter had double-digit points. But the difference in that game is also Peay went 7 of 14 from free throw range, while Mercer went 19 of 27. So that's going to kill you right there.
Yeah, it's going to kill you.
The Lady Govs will face off against the Racers as well as the men's on the 9th as the Battle of the Borders kicks off. The Lady Govs currently sit at 3-5. I mean, just look at a little consistency before we get out of here. With the schedule, because we mentioned it before, they beat Kentucky, they lose to Trevecca. It's like,
what's happening? What's going
on? It's like one team we're getting the killers, and the next week we're getting the dregs. So,
man, I miss calling those games for the women's team.
I bet so. And I mean, but
watching them were great.
It'll be interesting. But Zach, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
This week on Crunchtime. We'll get you rolling here with role players as we kick that off here in a minute. Trey, obviously, thank you for joining us as well because he makes all the graphics, makes kind of this ship run.
Right. Same. He helped us last season.
No doubt. He was huge. I want to thank Doc V for allowing us to use this beautiful studio, Steve Sawyer, David Ellison, and then Isabella Christian, who's running the boards, Paige Hearn for doing her deal. She will run the boards for role players. And then, guys, this is the season finale, so we will not see you till after the holiday. So Merry Christmas to all of our listeners, and have a Happy New Year, and we'll see you next semester. Peace out.